Welcome back, everyone, to Furtico Insights, where we were talking about wood with our industry expert, Mr. Raghbir Singh.
Okay, Paji, let's get back to answer all the questions and queries of plywood industry.
Prefab interiors impacted the traditional wooden furniture and the way it used to be done earlier.
Yes, it has drastically impacted the old style of working. See that there are very many factors in this. Just as simple as that a carpenter's son doesn't want to be a carpenter anymore. So there is less of manpower to work on site. There are time restrictions. So in if you see in any plush society, there is another challenge about time. Carpenters, they are not allowed to work for longer hours, because of which again it becomes a challenge.
Right,
Hence, all these factors give an upper hand to the modular sector.
right.
Modular furniture, they don't have time restrictions. They have their own machineries. They have all their raw materials stacked up in their furniture, in their godowns. And then the carpenters work over there effortlessly. They can monitor quality at any given point. And it's like,
Sorry to interrupt you, Easy, but we've been talking about modular furniture. I've even mentioned it earlier. So, can you just tell us a little bit more about what modular furniture is? Because everyone talks about modular furniture, but nobody actually knows what modular furniture is. So, can you just tell us a little bit about it so that we know where to use modular furniture term?
so see, modular furniture is basically manufactured offhand. It is not manufactured on site, where machine is used which has got maybe an edge banding machine to surface off the edges. Laminates are done pressing with cold press and hot press, because of which later on sites bubbles and all do not appear on the surfaces of plywood. And then this furniture is made in parts. And the biggest advantage of that is transportation, cost, and again then at 3-4 hours it takes just to go on site and assemble it. This is how basically the modular industry works.
Rather than fixing and making the whole cupboard or any furniture unit, we just take the parts and assemble it on site. That's why I think even in the commercial spaces these days, there is a lot of metal and wood combined and made into tables and other furniture parts.
So like I would like to tell you, like, the new trends are coming. In new trends, flat surfaces are now being converted to stone. So there is a mix and match of products used in furniture currently. This is a new trend. Like there is MS base used, then maybe the box is made in plywood. The flat panels are either made in acrylic or laminate or veneers. And usually the tops are made with stone. So there are so many factors that are used, so many products of different species used on to make a table or maybe a work desk.
True, definitely. Like even we've been seeing this. So yes, I completely understand what you're saying. VG, what's your take on reclaimed wood? Basically, the recycled wood or whatever you would call it as. Is it again similar or is it again durable? And if you compare it with the new wood, is it the same or it's different? What is your take on this?
See, dominantly in our country, reclaimed wood, only one species is used, and that is teak wood.
Correct.
During the olden era, only teak wood was dominantly used in all the old monuments, in the old vadas that we had. And now, still, as those vadas or those monuments have been demolished, that teak wood can be again reclaimed, polished, cleaned, and reused. But the biggest challenge in using reclaimed wood is time and patience again. Neither the clients nor the sellers themselves have that much of patience. So patience is the challenge. Cost-wise, yes, reclaimed wood turns out cheaper, but it consumes a lot of time. And there are a little bit of challenges in fixing the holes and the cracks on them.
Is it as strong as new teak wood?
Absolutely, yes.
So there's no difference.
It has seen so many years and weathers.
Right.
It is, in fact, you can say it is more strong than the new wood.
What future trends do you see in the furniture industry and how will it impact the residential and commercial spaces?
So in future trends, there are a lot of new changes, that the government is bringing. So one thing that I would really like to applaud our government is the government is really bringing strict laws. There are new trends coming. All the wood-based industries have to come under FSC certifications. They are being forced to use legal chemicals. They have been forced to use chemicals that are less harmful to the humans. Because if you see plywood, particle board, they all have a lot of chemicals used. And these chemicals at some point are really harmful to the humans. Now, with the new trends, with the new norms, plywood factories have to be very careful of what chemicals they are using. Many builders are using fireproof doors and fireproof plywood for partitions in common areas. So fire rated doors, they reduce the transmission of fire from one house to the other. It can also take 1 hour for the plywood or the fire to penetrate from one house to the another house. So that is a dominant change that has been happening.
Is it going to be, say, more expensive, or also is it more difficult to make furniture out of such materials?
Obviously, it comes at an expense, but then even human lives are at risk. So it is become kind of mandatory for all builders and developers to follow those rules, which I will really say is really good change.
And in terms of using it, or in terms of making furniture from it, is it more difficult, or it's not going to affect that side of the industry?
No, absolutely not difficult. It is only that the pattern of manufacturing has been changed. Like the raw materials have been, the chemicals have been used are changed.
Okay. So the chemicals that are being used are more eco-friendly.
Absolutely.
The way they are being made, they are more, technological advancement has been used in it, and that's how those products are being made at the moment.
Absolutely. So many global norms are being now inculcated into our own country, which is a very good move by the government and the developers.
Okay, so it will be fair to say that in terms of design, there will not be any major changes until and unless, again, something comes in trend. But in terms of quality, in terms of safety, definitely a lot of things are going to change.
Absolutely. So now, see, if you see, many manufacturing companies are, flaunting their certifications. That's where they get an upper hand. If you're selling something expensive, so you have those certifications, which consumers now are very aware of. Then, like I told you, fire-rated doors, fire-rated plywood. These all things are really mattering. Like I told you, fire-rated doors, fire-rated plywood. These all things really matter today.
करेक्ट या बिकॉज आई थिंक मेजर जो सबको लगता है कि फ्यूचर ट्रेंड्स की हम जब बात करते हैं कि डिज़ाइन ऐसा होगा, ये ऐसा होगा, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. इट इज़ डिज़ाइन इज अगेन, it is on the skill and it is on creativity of minds, but safety here definitely also has become better.
So as a layman understands, I would like to say the recipe of wood manufacturing or plywood manufacturing is changing. The product
for the better.
The product will always remain the same. Another thing that I would like to tell you is during the previous years, there were many small parts of timber that were like used as waste wood. So they were, just used as fuel. But nowadays, recycling is a big initiative that the manufacturing companies are taking. And like these MDF plants, the particle board plants, they are using only scrap timber or the leftover timber from the plywood industries.
Okay. So that's also helping.
There is no wastage at all.
Correct. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's how the particle board and these boards are made, and they are being used again. So, right. So, VG, because of the internet and everything so easily available, the knowledge around is so easily available, have you seen the trends change in terms of customers being more aware of the wood quality, and before they buy, they know what they are buying rather than just blindly believing either you or the carpenter?
Yeah, that has changed a lot. So you can say, dominantly 10-15 years ago, every consumer, had knowledge of experience of what his father, his grandfather gave him. There was very limited, information about timber and wood on media, on social media, on the internet, and people didn't care to check. But today, yes, today's customer will do his research online, on the internet, and then he comes to us. But the sad story is, in reality, the scene is different, and on the internet, scenes are different. So it is actually better to come to us and practically see and understand wood instead of the internet.
Right. So has it become more difficult for you to make a customer understand that what you are talking versus what he or she has read over the internet different, or how is that scenario for you when you are dealing with any customer?
Yes, it is very challenging Because see, anything can be written on internet now. Everything on internet is not true. But the customer thinks that whatever he has read, he should get that, which is always not true.
So now, if you say that even online you cannot, trust online information blindly, Vijay, I'd really want to understand that how can one trust you as a vendor when they are, buying any material? So how can I trust you if I can't even trust the internet? I can't even trust you. How can I go ahead with my material purchases?
Exactly. So coming to that point, whenever a client comes to us, so we do not actually speak on samples. We don't show the client a small piece of wood and tell him that this is good, you use this. We actually show them our full stock.
Okay.
So when the client physically in front of his eyes sees our stock, the stock speaks for itself and the client actually doesn't even need to do that much of survey later. So we keep ready stock of timber.
Okay. Can you tell us more about your stock so that we can also understand that how important it is for a vendor to have that kind of a stock where the customers are coming with their limited internet knowledge and trusting you at the end?
Yeah, so many times what happens, maybe a client requires 80 pieces of a particular size and having it in stock makes a very big advantage. We close the order there and then itself. What generally otherwise happens if we don't hold that much of stock is we have say 50% quantity of old stock, so that is seasoned wood, and the next 50% or the balance 50%, if we cut and get it from our factories or from our sources, that will not be as seasoned as what we gave the client in the first lot. And there the client loses trust or the client thinks that we have changed the materials.
Right. So that is really important for someone of your industry, from your background, to have that kind of stock, that kind of knowledge to build that trust in the first place. Okay.
If you're using raw timber, I'd suggest buy it the whole in one lot
Okay. That's important.
to get the same shade, same moisture content.
Right. But for that, they need that kind of a supplier rather than just believing anyone.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. What's the trend of the wood industry that you never expected to take off, or ever since you started business, you thought that this will never come back in fashion or never come back in trend?
Yes, that's very surprising. So post-COVID, like you all must be knowing, there is a product by the name of louvers. So louvers have just flooded the market and every client wants to use them in their house. They have become so popular, which none of us ever expected. Means even a client who doesn't even have a budget wants to use louvers, and they have become so famous and popular. And another product is aluminium.
Okay.
So, like I told you previously, in furniture partitions, in ceilings, for framework, pine wood was used or sal wood was used. But nowadays, all contractors and carpenters just want to use aluminium, and which we never thought would become so important in our wood trade. So, aluminium is like available in 12 feet sections, and even though it is expensive than wood, still it has become very popular, which we never imagined.
So you mentioned something about louvers. Can you tell us in a layman's language what that actually is?
Imported products on which the base material is either charcoal or PVC,
Okay.
and they have a factory finished paint, and they have just like laminates, and you have to just paste them onto any wall or on any plywood surface, and they are all interconnected in lap joints.
Okay. So it is also something similar to veneer?
No,
There's a difference.
absolutely not.
Okay. I'm also seen a lot of rattan furniture come back into trend.
Yes, so rattan furniture is being used quite effectively now. Like, see, it is a trend. Like, it's like a graph. Things that go up, they come down, they go up, that come down. Rattan furniture is come back in trend, but louvers still they sell the most.
Okay. So are you seeing a lot of demand for louvers?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. That's actually surprising for me as well, because I never thought that will come back in trend.
So we never thought that the trend of louvers would last so long, but unfortunately, yes, it has lasted till now.
So what's the difference in terms of costing? Like when we compare it to a veneer or a laminate, what's the costing for a louver?
It will be obviously more expensive than laminates, but the look of a louver is three-dimensional.
Okay.
So that is where louvers win the upper hand from laminates, and it is very quickly available and very easy to install. It saves a lot of time.
Okay. And as laminates, is it very easily available when it in terms of quantity?
Yes, same. It's available in quantity.
Okay, so one can use a similar pattern, similar looking louver in the entire house.
Yes.
BG, we see a lot of advertisements that this particular plywood is termite free and you don't have to, worry about termites. So what is it that one can look at when they're buying wood, which is naturally termite free rather than where we have to maybe, put it under any treatment or anything?
See, this is a very good question you asked. Dominantly, wood comes under hardwood and softwood.
Okay.
So the most of the hardwood are termite free because obviously they are hard.
Okay.
There are natural timbers also which have got natural qualities of being defensive against termite and borers. These are the European timbers, and as well as some of the Canadian timbers also, like white cedar. So white cedar is a Canadian timber which is resistant to termites.
Okay, so you don't have to do any specific treatment or any anti-termite treatment to, make it last long and termite resistant.
And in wood processing, basically in wooden factories and plywood factories, they are using chemicals to make it anti-borer. They are using borax. They are using phenol formaldehyde. So, and apart from this, they are using further more chemicals, which makes the plywood, the end product, termite free and borer free.
So these plywoods, can we say that until and unless this is not discarded, it is going to remain termite free, or there is a particular time frame that we look at when we buy such products that we have to maybe renew the chemical processing or something to, make it more long lasting in terms of termite resistance?
See, one dominant factor that plays in destroying plywood or wood, for example, is moisture.
Okay.
So if your house is moisture free, dehumidified, maybe you're living in a dry area, in a dry city, you will not have any problem of borers or termites.
Okay.
But in places like Goa, Bombay, where the humidity is very high, so a person has to be very careful about the moisture content in his house. If his house is moisture free, the wood and plywood will last much longer.
So, Virji, we've talked about termite, but also majorly the issue that people face is also about water. So, we have a lot of products that are available which claim that they are water resistant. So, can you just talk a little bit about that, where we know how to maintain and what not to do for material that is not water resistant, and even for water resistant material? Like, I'm sure there are a lot of do's and don'ts to use that material as well.
See, generally, plywood is made in two forms. One is commercial, the other one is waterproof. So in layman's term, waterproof plywood is also called as marine plywood or 710 plywood. 710 means the ISI norm for marine plywood, and also it's called as waterproof plywood. The products used, the raw material used in commercial and waterproof plywood is the same, but the major difference is the chemical, which is PF means phenol formaldehyde. That's the short form. So phenol formaldehyde plays a major role in binding the layers of the plywood, and it also kind of makes the wood and plywood water resistant.
Okay. So can we say that even if it's submerged in water, nothing will go wrong with it?
It does affect for boiling waterproof for 72 hours. The sheets of the plywood will remain intact.
Okay.
If good amount of phenol has been used in the plywood during manufacturing.
So Virji, in India, we have this long-standing myth that all the imported products are better than our Indian products. So I'd like to know, even in wood, is it actually that the imported timber, imported wood is better than our Indian species, or it's just again a myth and a marketing gimmick?
It is kind of a myth because if you see in India, in several pockets, there are indigenous species of timber available that are not available anywhere. Like Kashmiri walnut. If you go to Kashmir, you see the kind of handcrafted designs those industries are doing over there. They are famous all over the world. Then in UP, In Uttar Pradesh, you have the shisam wood, which is used for furniture. Rosewood and sandalwood are also used for religious articles and idols, and they are exported all throughout the world.
Okay. The artifacts that are commonly.
Size wise, these articles and handicrafts are smaller, but value wise and beauty wise, they are too good.
Again, it is a marketing gimmick or a myth that Indian variety is not that supreme quality or premium quality. It is as good as any imported wood.
Absolutely, yes.
Right. Okay.
Also, these small manufacturing industries, these handicraft industries, have now graduated to online platforms. So, at a click of a button, any person from any corner of the world can buy them, because of which it has given them a big boost.
Right. I have seen these beautifully carved elephants and these animals which are being exported all over the world and which is not really available anywhere in the world, and they all are being exported from India to these Western countries. So okay, that's good to know again that this is just a myth and another marketing gimmick.
Yes, absolutely.
So, talking about myths, there is another one that I've heard that some people claim that natural wood breathes and with climate it also changes its shape. Is it true?
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Okay, it's not a myth then.
No, it's not a myth.
Okay,
So what happens is, see, once our doors and door jambs and windows are made out of natural wood, even though if they're seasoned.
right.
So during the rainy season, they do attract moisture, and anything that attracts moisture swells.
Right.
It swells in size. So that's what happens with this natural timber also. So there are some precautions that can be taken when you're manufacturing these doors and windows. Is maybe you leave that much of expansion gaps.
Right. So I've seen this in my own house because we have wooden doors. And during rainy season, I've seen them. They become a bit more hard because they are rubbing against each other because there is less space, for it to breathe. Okay, now it makes sense, and now I know it's not a myth.
Absolutely, it's not.
So I think VG, we've covered almost every myth, every misconception, and everything one could talk about woods, and one needs to know before buying any specific material. So yeah, just before we come to an end, would you like to give us any tips or any do's and don'ts if someone wants to maintain their old solid wood furniture, and also some key points that one needs to keep in mind while buying new furniture?
Absolutely. So, see, solid wood furniture has to be maintained in a way like you should not expose it to harsh conditions, extremes, like extreme heat. Maybe you've kept direct sunlight, you've kept a chair in direct sunlight for months and years. Obviously, it is going to give way, the joinery will give way, and also to extreme rain. So, solid wood furniture is best if it's kept in a cool and dry place. And moisture does not affect solid wood furniture to that extent. So yes, you can be rest assured of that. And key points while buying wood or while buying wooden materials is that always when you're buying wood, you see to it that the wood is quite old and seasoned. Means it's better to buy a wood that has been lying with a trader for months.
Okay.
Rather than to buy fresh cut wood.
It's being tested there eventually.
Within the trader's premises also, the wood is seeing 3-4 seasons. So it will really behave well once the furniture is done and it's coming to your house.
Right.
And so far, so where plywood and all is concerned, I would always recommend to see the ISI certifications. You'll have a BIS app today in your phones.
Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about this app?
Yeah. So the Bureau of Indian Standards has
Bureau of Indian Standards.
The Bureau of Indian Standards has created an app by the name of BIS India. Okay. You can download it from your Play Store. And every plywood company that manufactures plywood has a unique license number, a CML number,
okay,
which is pasted on the ply. So you as a consumer can open up your app and just put the license number and see whether the plywood is genuinely manufactured from that company itself.
Okay.
Or it is a fake stamp.
Okay. That's something which was really needed.
Yes.
Okay.
And while buying laminates also, you should see whether the laminates are properly ISI marked. I would always suggest to use one laminates because the chances of bubbles and cracks don't appear later. One laminates must be a little more expensive, but they are better to be used.
Right.
Again, for veneers, I will suggest to use veneers which have got very good, a thicker face, maybe of 0.5 or 0.6 as compared to hybrid veneers.
Any other suggestions you'd like to give to people who are buying ready-made furniture online, or maybe, ready-to-use furniture as we call it as?
Online world is a big question mark. Maybe you will get something good. Maybe you might not get something good. That is all. You have to trial and test it. It is not that the online world is not good, but you have to verify before buying anything online.
Okay, that's the end of it. And thank you so much for being here and telling us a lot about wood and other materials. I have learned a lot today, and I think everyone watching this episode has also learned a lot, and they can make a better decision now before buying any material. So, thank you so much. And it was lovely to have you here.
Thanks a lot for having me over. Thanks a lot.
So, guys, people from Pune, ever looking for any good material related to wood, veneer, laminate, solid wood, you know where to go now. It's the Poona Saw Mills in the timber market. Thank you so much for watching.